Hello, everybody. It is Friday, June 19th, 2020, and we are wrapping up Weeds Week today for the ANR live streams. Here with my entourage, Stripey and Bandit, and Brindle's around here somewhere, and the chickens are out. And so for today, I don't have a specific weed chosen ahead of time. We're just going to kind of walk and talk for a little bit here. I had hoped to actually go out and find some poison hemlock and wild parsnip to compare for you guys, but I have been tethered to the computer for longer than I'd like to be and was not able to go and collect those. And fortunately, I don't have any to show you at my house, but I do have some other things. So what I'll do is kind of pick and choose as I go what to show you, and if you have specific questions about things that you have at home or something you may see in the background, we can talk about that for a little bit. And if you ask a question that I don't know, I will look up the answer and I'll put it in the chat when we're all done. So we'll shoot for 15 to 20 minutes of walk and talk, weed ID, and knowledge, and I hope that this has been helpful for you throughout the week. We look forward to next week, another set of live streams. Something that will be different a little bit next week is the office is reopened, but in limited capacity. So Tuesday will be my first day back in the physical office in over 3 months. So I have some tasks on my list to check off, and the biggest one is getting a paper newsletter sent out in the mail to those of you who subscribe to the paper newsletter. I don't have an extensive email list, so I have been sending email newsletters out once a month, but not the same as the paper one. So that will be on the way next week, a paper newsletter once I'm back in the office. I will be there once a week on Tuesdays, doing appointment-only in-person meetings. If you want to come and chat, that's great, but you do need to call and make an appointment. So we'll stress that one more time. And I still plan to do the live streams on the days that I am in the office. It will be Tuesdays for the foreseeable future because that's when I have childcare available for Bethany. So our office will be closed noon to 1, and since we do the live streams at noon, I should still be able to do that and not have overlapping appointments. So even on Tuesdays, moving forward, we'll probably continue to do these live streams. Getting to the weeds. If you guys have specific weeds you want to talk about, just put that in the chat box and we can talk about them. I have a couple here right in front of me that I'm going to pull up and show you. One that I'm not going to pull up and show you because I don't have gloves is nettle, but I'll show you the leaves. Now, the spot where I'm standing right now, this is our island in the driveway where our chicken coop is. And you may have watched these and wondered why our chicken coop is right there, like in the middle of the driveway. And the answer is very simply, there's an electrical plug there. So we were able to plug in the heating lamps for them when it was extremely cold. And that would also help us do supplemental light to keep their egg production up if we were having issues. And the reason there was a plug there is because the previous owners had a little pond here. So the plug was to run the pond. And we chose to put the chicken coop there because we had electrical access. So this is where I am. So this is a moderately disturbed site. And the chickens have scratched up quite a bit. And it was also significantly muddy. So we haven't mowed it very frequently because we're trying to get the grass to grow back. So there's some things here that aren't in the other areas of the lawn. And one is this nettle. I'll flip the camera for you because I know it focuses better when it's flipped. This plant is what I'm referring to here. I'm not sure what kind of nettle it is, but I'm very sure that it is nettle. And it tends to have really small little spines that'll get into your skin and sting you. Stinging nettle would be the worst one. It's just competitive, and I'm not it might be poisonous too. I'm not actually entirely sure. It's not one I get a lot of questions about, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is here. And it won't be too difficult to control. It doesn't like frequent mowing. So that will be under control once we mow this on a more regular basis. Again, like I said, if you have a specific weed you'd like to discuss, just drop that in the comment section and we can do that. Do you remember how earlier this week I was saying that mare's tail looks a lot like goldenrod? I think that this one is actually mare's tail versus goldenrod. I'm not 100% sure, but it has some similarities. And again, this would be a site that would make more sense for an annual weed to be rather than a perennial because it's so frequently mowed here on a regular basis. This one here, this one causes, Stripey just wants to be in there. This one causes a lot of issues for people with allergies. A lot of people actually will blame goldenrod for the allergies that this weed gives them. Let me get in the shade so I can see the image. Anybody know what this one is? This is ragweed. This is common ragweed. Despite what a lot of people believe, this one typically has green flowers, not yellow. So a lot of people will blame goldenrod for their ragweed allergies because they bloom at the same time. But typically it's ragweed that's the culprit rather than the goldenrod. So you can see it kind of has this ferny type leaf shape growing in a whorled pattern. So it goes in a circle around the stem, but it's fern type growth. This is an annual weed. It's most commonly an issue in annual disturbed sites, so things like corn and beans, it can be quite a problem in. It grows quite large, so it can be a nutrient hog. I have not seen any giant ragweed, but that's another one. Giant ragweed looks different from common. It doesn't have a ferny type leaf. It's much more like a mitten. So it has larger lobes on the leaves rather than this fern type leaf. Of course, I have dandelions here, you can see, and I have two types of plantain. Plantain is one of the weeds that has some forage value. So typically if you have plantain, I'm not too worried about it for you. It doesn't cause many issues and it does have some value as feed if it's eaten, especially for goats like it. So this one here with these boing, boing, boing seed heads, this is buckhorn plantain. Now, I've had issues with people in identifying weeds over the phone where they've told me that they had buckhorn or buckthorn. Obviously, those sound very similar on the phone, buckhorn, buckthorn, but are very different. This is buckhorn, and it's a narrow leaf plantain. So this is plantain, and this is plantain, but they are two different kinds of plantain. This is narrow leaf, often known as buckhorn, and this is broadleaf. And it can grow a nice big leaf like this one right here on the driveway. I have a bunch growing under my car. It will kind of colonize those disturbed sites. Again, not really a concern. It's just unsightly if you're a lawn person. It doesn't grow very tall. So, let me flip the camera. Usually not a concern in hay either. And like I said, it does have forage value. Animals will eat it without toxicity and things like that. I'm just going to walk a little bit further out towards the mailbox and find a couple things to show you. Anybody have any specific questions? Another one that I would be remiss if I didn't talk about is spotted knapweed. And we have done multiple in-person programs over the past couple years about spotted knapweed. I've written lots of articles about spotted knapweed. We actually have a natural resource conservation grant that applies to Noble County for treating spotted knapweed. So we've tried to do our due diligence to get people familiar with identifying it and trying to treat it right away. It, like many of the weeds we've talked about this week, can be an issue when you are a pollinator enthusiast because bees really like spotted knapweed. But there are so many other things that they like as well. We really don't want to be using spotted knapweed as bee forage. It has a nice flower, but so does Canada thistle. there's lots of things that have value as pollinator habitat or forage, but this can still cause significant damage to our production system. So that's one that, we really got the hit out on. It is invasive. It's non-native. It's primarily moved in from the western states. And most likely the way it came in was in hay that was bought from an outside source and brought into the county with seed heads in it. So that grant program that I'm talking about, it includes Noble, Guernsey, Muskingum, and Morgan counties. If you are a producer in one of those 4 counties, you can fill out some paperwork with NRCS and actually get reimbursed for treating it on your land, because we want to get adequate control. I don't have any examples, fortunately, to show you. I actually was pretty concerned that I would, because we had some hay from a section of our area that we know spotted knapweed is in. We actually got the hay. I wrote about this for Farm and Dairy, so maybe if you read the article, you know. But we bought some hay just for the purpose of serving as a backstop for our daughter's slip and slide at her birthday party last year. And then we thought we'd just trash it by the end. It'd be soggy and nasty. Well, it actually fared out really well. And because the cost of bedding was so expensive this winter, we used that leftover hay as bedding for the chickens instead of using pine shavings or straw. And it worked out really well. But as we started to crack open those bales, there were some seed heads in there that kind of looked a bit like spotted knapweed. But I think most of it was Canada thistle and fleabane, because I had tons of fleabane, but I have not seen any spotted knapweed seedlings. Spotted knapweed it's a perennial, but it acts like a biennial in that it doesn't flower the first year. So you often don't know you have it until year 2 when you see the flower. I can share some resources about it once the live stream wraps up, so that you can look that up if you're concerned about spotted knapweed. Can't show it, but we can talk about it in more detail if you'd like to call. I see that Joyce says, can you talk about multiflower rose, creeping Jenny, burdock, dock, are common wildflowers ever a problem? Well, we've talked about how common wildflowers can be a problem. Any plant in the wrong place is a weed, right? Even if it has benefits in another ecosystem, it can still be considered a weed in the wrong place. So yeah, there's many common wildflowers that can be weedy. Yeah, multiflora rose I'll talk about when I get up here to the fence post by the driveway, because I have a nice healthy plant there. All my multiflower rose, and it's multiflora, means the same thing. It's already done blooming. It bloomed and it's been done. So I can show you that. And, oh, is this ferny growth? Is this Queen Anne's lace, or is this the start of a poison hemlock? Maybe I do have one to show you. Anyway, yeah, we can talk about some of those weeds, Joyce. So let me show you here. This is multiflora rose growing on the fence post. I actually have a kind of pretty picture of this when it was flowering right here at the edge of the driveway. Multiflora rose is one of those plants that was brought in for use as living fence, and also to prevent soil erosion, because it grows on marginal sites, on slopes. It doesn't mind to stabilize soil, and it's thorny, so it works as a fence. But it's also very competitive. It's a prolific seeder, so it causes issues for folks. But when you catch it while it's fairly small, it's pretty responsive to foliar herbicide applications and frequent mowing. So it's usually not an issue in hay, but it's an issue in permanent pastures and fence lines and woodlands ecosystems. So let me flip around so I can give you a closer look at the leaves. It looks like a rose. Serrated leaves. Looks so. Do you know of any other plants that are in the rose family that we eat? You could eat rose hips, right? But raspberries, blackberries are in the rose family. So you'll notice that the flowers and the fruits look very similar. Do you know what else is in the rose family? Apples, plums, cherries. Those are all actually in the rose family as well. Oh, look, we have some black raspberries coming on in the fence row. Got my living fence, right? Now let me show you this plant that I was like, oh no, is this poison hemlock? Is this wild carrot? What is this? I think I need to pull this out. Do you see these ferns? So we already looked at a ferny weed, right? And we said that was, the ferny weed was ragweed, common ragweed. We've been telling everybody and their brother to be on the lookout for poison hemlock. And I have not seen any poison hemlock at my house. I have seen some wild parsnip down the road, but you see these leaves? Oh, I'm getting the message that my phone is getting warm, so I'm going to need to wrap this up. If it overheats, it'll stop playing the video. I don't have gloves on, but some of the good news here is I don't see the purple specks on the stem. The very hairy stem here. Got some grass in the way. Remember that all parts of the poison hemlock plant are poisonous, but this is very hairy and it's not spotted. So, is this wild parsnip? There's no flower on it. I'll go back and review the video and then let you guys know what I think. But I still think it's a bit early for it to be Queen Anne's lace. We do have Queen Anne's lace here, but, oh, I see a flower starting. Knowing that my neighbor just down the road has some wild parsnip, I'm going to guess that that's most likely what this is. This is the very start of the seed head here. I'm touching the leaves, so just not touch my eyes. I don't know, maybe that is Queen Anne's lace. This just looks like one. We'll see. I will have to look that up somewhere. Well, there's a few weeds for today's discussion. Let me flip my camera back around. We can talk a few about the other ones. Creeping Jenny, that's usually an issue in super overgrazed pastures or in lawns that have bare spots. The best way to deal with that is to outcompete it. It's mostly unsightly. Animals don't really eat it. It creeps, it's low to the ground, so it doesn't get into hay and cause issues. And then the docks, burdock, curly dock, they're ugly, but they're usually not as terrible of an issue as these other weeds. Again, not poisonous, but unsightly. They do. The common burdock has really large leaves and is really ugly. And then curly dock, we sometimes call it the bacon plant because it has narrow, almost curly leaves. And they both produce an upright flower, and they produce a lot of seed. But most of the issues with them are aesthetic. They just don't look nice, and they're taking up space that something else should be in. So that's, again, mostly competition issues there. So with that, in case my phone decides to overheat, I'm getting little buzz messages in the back. Yeah, it's warning me that some features may be limited. So I better wrap this up. I've been demanding a lot of my technology today with multiple meetings. Our internet was not working well, so I had to use my phone as the hotspot for Farm Talk breakfast this morning, which was really good. If you were able to attend, thank you for coming. And we will post the recording of the meeting, so if you missed it but would still like to watch it, you can. That's actually uploading in the house right now on my laptop. It said it would take about an hour to upload. So I will share that with you as well so you can watch it. The topic was solar for residential, business, and farm. So you'll be able to watch that. I wanted to show you one other plant before we call it an end. And the only reason I want to show you is because it appeared a lot in my videos from yesterday, but I didn't talk about it at all. And it is sassafras. I may have talked about sassafras in previous live streams, but I haven't talked about it in the weeds talk. Sassafras is a tree. It's a woody tree. It's native. It's valuable. Like, don't get rid of sassafras. It's really easy to identify though because it has 3 distinctly different leaf shapes on the same plant. So you can have 3 lobes, 2 lobes, no lobes on the same plant. And so it's really easy to know when a plant is sassafras. I also have a pawpaw that I'm walking by. I'll just show you. We had 2. You have to have 2, a male and a female, if you want to get pawpaws. But we kind of killed one when we cut a different tree down. The tree we cut down fell on top of the pawpaw tree, and it was significantly damaged. So if we want to get pawpaws, we need to get another pawpaw. Oh, and speaking of pawpaws, happy Father's Day to those of you that are fathers and maybe watching. Don't forget to call your fathers, or send them a message up to heaven if you don't have your father with you anymore. But it's the weekend to honor fathers, so do that. Thank you for all you do. And it's also free fishing weekend in the state of Ohio. You can fish on all grounds except for private property that you don't own, that you shouldn't trespass on. But all those sites where you typically need a fishing license, you can fish for free this weekend, Saturday and Sunday with no license, and it happens to be over Father's Day weekend, so take advantage of that and get out there, enjoy the outdoors, continue to make good choices about how you spend time with your friends and family, and also care for the environment while you do it, but have some fun. With that, we'll end the live stream. As always, please feel free to reach out if you have questions about anything that pertains to agriculture and natural resources. And remember, you can call our office for questions about family consumer science, canning, freezing, meat processing. That's a whole other topic we'll have to cover at some point in time. But we recognize that it's very difficult to get animals in to process right now. And it's going to be like that for a long time. A long time. But don't be stupid. Don't make stupid decisions at home and get yourself into food safety situations that could be detrimental. Make good choices out there. Make good choices about your family, your health, your food, all those things, so that we can still continue to have fun and hopefully get back to normal as soon as possible, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. See you next week on Monday, and keep an eye out for when that Farm Talk Breakfast recording posts. See ya.